Joe, what was your verdict?
A win, home quarter-finals, the overriding verdict. The process was pretty pleasing, to be honest. I think when you get the wind, and a stronger wind as it was like today, I think you feel a little bit of pressure to get some sort of advantage, and I thought we were pretty clinical. A couple of nice plays that came off for us to get a couple of tries on the board and build that early 17-point lead, and then I thought there was really good character to defend off our line the way we did, and so there was a mix of a little bit of the flasher stuff and a little bit of the real roll the sleeves up stuff, and I thought those two things gave us the half-time advantage, and it was fantastic to score right after half-time. And maybe in the last 20 or 30 we weren't as clinical, but I still thought there was some really good endeavour.
Joe, Johnny left out at the last minute. Can you let us know what his status is at the moment and how you thought Keane and Fergus did then?
Yeah, I think Johnny possibly could have played, but in the context of what's coming up, we just felt that it was better that Johnny look after himself and get himself right for what's coming up, and at the same time, it's probably a reflection of the faith we've got in Ian Madigan and the guys around Ian Madigan to give him the support to grow a bit today, and I thought he did a good job.
At this point, with the momentum going, would you like to play the Heineken or play the quarter-final next week, keep going without a break?
Yeah, it's the nature of the competition. It is a little bit hard that you're now, even more so this year, because there's been 3 months consecutive where normally you get that first month autumn test, second month, then third month. But it's nice to have a little bit of momentum. I think we've put a few good results together, even if they haven't all been great performances, and so we just got to bide our time now and watch a little bit of Six Nations, and hope the guys come out of that fully fit and put the team back together, and in the meantime play a bit of Pro 12 and make sure that we try to maintain our standards there.
Yeah, very satisfying getting out of there. Montpellier are a great team, and that's one of the strongest points of the game. So to come out of that, really takes a big weight off your shoulders, and then to end up down the other end of the field not long after, it's good momentum, especially for the forwards, putting in a hard grasp and then getting some results.
Did you feel that was the winning of the game?
Maybe not the winning of the game, but it really gave the whole team a boost. To finally get the turnover after 13-15 minutes of hard slog, and then end up down the other field and get points. It was good. It's been a long 13 weeks, and that was sort of tried to grow each week, and there's been a few down periods, so we'll go into this week off with big expectations of the months to come.
So Rory, it's kind of a bit of a down week at the moment up here in the Northern Hemisphere. I suppose just the Wolfhounds are in action at the weekend, and a few of the women's teams. Just try to focus on the Southern Hemisphere, and it's still a few weeks away from the Super 15 season, but what are the big stories down there?
Yeah, Pat, very, very like back home, seems to be, things are just kind of simmering a bit now. All the Super 15 squads have been finalised. A lot of kind of preview is going on, but, we're still kind of waiting for the big stories. But there's a very interesting story this week. It's been picked up by all the Aussie and Kiwi papers down here on all the wires. Basically, there was a story broke during the week in the French newspaper Midi Olympique about Juan Martín Hernández, the Argentinian fly half, who's currently playing for Racing Metro. Now, it's very sketchy, but apparently he's been linked with the Auckland Blues for the forthcoming Super Rugby campaign. There was rumours that they were in negotiations with him during the week or the last few weeks. Now, a Blue spokesman has come out and said he knows nothing about it, but, like Midi Olympique or like L'Equipe there, they're fairly big sport organisations. They're fairly solid with, they don't really do hearsay, So there might be a bit of truth in it, but it'd be very interesting. Like Hernandez played Super Rugby 2 years ago for the Sharks. Had a disaster season. He spent most of it out injured, and as people will know, he was a huge loss to the Rugby World Cup last year. He missed the whole tournament because of a cruciate knee injury. But he certainly, if there's any truth, it would be fantastic. Me living in Auckland, it would personally be fantastic to see him down there playing in that Blues backline with Nanu and Toyava and Rennie Ranger, But that's kind of an interesting story that's running. Another one is the protracted Springbok coach saga rumbles on again. You know, there's stories the last 2 days that Heineken Meyer, the current Blue Bulls coach, is being linked with the job now, and I think it's, you know, the South African Rugby Union. You know, they make the RFU look like Enron or something. Like they came out and released and gave a press release saying how dissatisfied they were that Heineken Meyer, their head coach, had been approached by the South African Rugby Union to take the top down. So I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, as fraught with tension sometimes the provinces and the national setup have here, you'd never see things like that going on. But, you know, Peter Bidders even came out and said it. I mean, it's now, what are we looking at, 4 or 5 months since the World Cup, and South Africa, you know, they still have no head coach, and they're just the messing that's going on there. You know, like every second person, you know, Gareth Small has been linked with the job many times, despite the RFU ad nauseum coming out saying, listen, he's contracted us till next year, till June 2013. He's going to see out his contract. Gareth Small has come out and said a few times, yet we're still seeing stories like, you know, you read on the South African wires, he's constantly being linked with the job, you know. But it's gassing, you know. It's this kind of filling vacant national team posts is a tricky old game, you know. I saw the way the All Blacks went about it, you know, so professional, you know, but they seem to be the two big stories really at the moment. There's another interesting one about, for any Irish fans that might be listening to this, they were in the fantastic Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin. It's, you know, really top-notch stadium. You know, I'd say probably the best rugby stadium I was in New Zealand during the World Cup. The Otago Highlanders, their old stadium known as the House of Pain, Carisbrook, which they sold because it was basically, you know, really kind of, you know, Ireland have played a few tests there, really kind of old school kind of stadium. They basically sold that in a bid to go more central into the city and build a new stadium near the university. But whoever handled it made a right cock up because it was a bad deal, and the franchise now, which, if anyone follows it, the Super Rugby franchises in New Zealand are cash strapped at the best of times. You know, the central contracting very much in Ireland. It's been a bit of a disaster in New Zealand because simply they just don't have the gay receipts, they don't have the money here, they don't have the marketing to generate revenue. But basically, the Otago Highlanders have been saddled with like $1.5 million worth of debt from the sale of Carisbrook. So not only are they trying to pay off this massive loan for their new big spanking, you know, covered glass stadium, they're now saddled with debt from their other sale of the other stadium. So, you know, it's a funny old one. But they seem to be they're the big stories going around for the moment, Pat.
And when we were down there, there was an Elton John concert followed the Ireland-Italy game, didn't they? Maybe they should convince Elton John to come over and do a few more gigs.
Yeah, it could be. You know, it's a funny one. Like Steve Chu, the CEO of New Zealand Rugby, I don't know if I said on the podcast before, they've actually come out about 6 weeks ago and they've publicly said they've kind of issued a come and get us plea to companies in the Southern Hemisphere more globally to come in and actually either do partnerships or take over a lot of the Super Rugby franchises because, like, they're just the simple fact of the matter is, you know, New Zealand is the home of rugby, but they simply do not have finances at the moment to keep the players there, to finance and pay the players, the centrally contracted players, very much like Ireland. Because what's simply happening is that they have their rule. If you don't play in New Zealand, you don't get into the All Blacks. But what's happening is, as you know, top 14 is awash with money. You know, there's rugby league in Australia, there's Premiership in England. You know, but what's happening is every year they're having to renegotiate with players, and the wages are going up the whole time, but they just don't have the money to sustain it. So, but it's a funny one as well, like, because we'll probably see it again now in the Super Rugby tournament. You know, absolutely fantastic rugby, brilliant weather, but you'll see it now. You'll see it now, half-empty stadiums during the games. It's incredible.
And is there any kind of news on Carter? Is he on his way back at all?
Carter is due back. Carter is going to miss the first few rounds, but he's back, apparently jogging and looking fit. McCaw's going to miss 1 or 2 rounds, but the prognosis is that he's going to be back. I think he's going to miss 1 or 2 games. He's back, basically jogging and training in pre-season, but like the injury he got, from what I've heard from other journalists down here, is it's the tricky old one. I think they're not going to be rushing him back too soon. but he should be back kind of probably early to mid Super Rugby, and that's Carter, but I mean, they'll miss it. They've missed him. I mean, the All Blacks of New Zealand Rugby has some good young outlaws coming through, but he's quite far and away. It's an understatement. They need him back.
And I suppose another person in pre-season at the moment is yourself. You're with Ponsonby Rugby Club at the moment this season. Well, so far anyway. What is it? How's the first couple of weeks going for you of pre-season training?
I think anyone who's gone back, to fill people in. I was on I came out. I sort of semi-retired in my early 20s from Middleton Rugby Club back in Cork. After I finished playing under 20s, and I'm living down here in Auckland now full time, and came out of retirement the last few weeks, and playing for Ponsonby Rugby Club. It's Pat, me and you were there during the World Cup on a social night. It's a very prestigious club now. I mean, the players who came through that club, it's staggering. Carla Spencer, Sione Tanguia, was playing against Munster last weekend, was there. Paul Williams, who played for Samoa during the World Cup. The list is endless. Ali Williams was there. But getting there slowly but surely getting there. The fitness wise, but it's been a reality check certainly the last few weeks. But that's been great. But you certainly get an insight into the whole New Zealand mentality here. When you go training with a rugby team here, they have the emphasis on skills and just accuracy, and even the passion of it, and the enthusiasm that's there, and like little kind of microscopics of play. Like everything, nothing is kind of. I was even there one night doing a passing drill, and one of the assistant coaches came up to me and was talking to me about my footing, taking a pass, and all this stuff. You can see why they're so good. Because there's such an emphasis on it, and but the thing that's really struck me is even in pre-season where there's not a huge amount of kind of core stuff, is like the emphasis on footwork and the breakdown. It's just all about power and cleaning out. But that's been fantastic. As I said to Pat before, off air, you couldn't come to New Zealand really for a long period of time and not sample and play a bit of rugby here. It would be sacrilegious, really. Well,
that's the whole thing. If ever you get back to Middleton in a few years' time or a couple of years' time, they might see the benefits if they can keep you out of retirement again for another couple of years.
I can impart my knowledge from foreign fields, maybe. But yeah, sure. It's something I'd recommend to anyone, really. I mean, sure, back in Middleton we had, one of the most famous Kiwis who ever came to Ireland, Jason Holland. He was our Jason Holland. I'm not for a second. I might compare myself to Jason Holland, but he was like myself, kind of in the opposite way. He came to Cork on a whim for 12 months. His best friend Damon Ulrich was playing for Middleton at the time. Roy Dover started playing for Middleton, who were in Division 3 of the Ireland League at the time. They got promoted to Division 2. Word was doing the rounds about the South half playing for Middleton, and he went on and did he win almost a century of caps for Munster now? He's the backline coach, so just shows you, like, it's funny, geez, not for a second am I insinuating that I could do similar down here, but it's just it just shows you about rugby, no matter where you are in the world, it's that kind of game. You can walk in the gate and you'll be welcomed with open arms. It's great, like.